You're listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and I'm here to bring you the current planetary conditions. So, this is quite tumultuous. You must be feeling it. The energy of this full moon is like super intense, especially because it's an Aquarius full moon, but there is also, or not but and there is also so many potent aspects, especially that Uranus will actually be in a square with the sun and the moon, which are reflecting off of each other right now. So it's like a very potent, well, actually, I'm not even sure, I used to think that that was how it worked, that they were reflecting off of each other, but I'm not actually certain that that's what's going on anymore. So there is this sort of opposition feeling, though, where the sun is in Leo and everything is sunny and fun, or hopefully sunny and fun. I mean, that's definitely what you want, is some sun and fun. And then it's opposing Aquarius, where the full moon is. And the full moon in Aquarius is very much like a humanitarian energy. It's very individualistic, not interested in conforming or like doing it the way everybody else does, because it's very sort of on the fringe of society energy. So it's really great in that with Aquarian energy shining on the planet right now, we can be ourselves. And that is a very supported thing, just being who we are. And it also, another good thing about the Aquarian energy is that it allows us to detach. It's like a wonderfully detached energy, especially if you're like overly emotional, or, maybe you have some sort of like programming that has you, I mean, we're all got some sort of programming, but where you're sort of sacrificing of yourself for the sake of others or some sort of situation, or just even your ego, what you think is right. The Aquarian energy ruled by Uranus, which is squaring this whole show, comes along and it gives you this like sort of big jolt of a realization. And you're like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. Like, F all y'all. This is not something I'm going to carry. So if you need to let go of something, or you need to remove yourself from a situation, or detach in any way from anything, it could be an addiction as well. Like, we can be very attached, obviously, to our addictions. And this energy comes along and it really helps you just kind of cut the cord, just unplug the circuit. So you're no longer feeding energy to what is not good for you and what is not good for everyone ultimately. So that's a good thing about this energy. You can really let go. What do you need to let go of? It'll also depend on where it is in your chart, right? Where the action is. But it could be, obviously it's very specific. Like, where is it in your chart? But that will be the feeling, is that you need to be an individual, you need to be yourself, and you need to let go of anything that is hindering that process. So it could create a lot of change and shake things up in a lot of ways, or it could just give you sort of new ideas to move in new directions. The square can be tricky because it's not like tricky. That's sort of like an understatement. The square, it causes us to do something about it. There's this like, it's like when you have a rock in your shoe or your underwear up your bum, you've got to like get it out of there. You can't just go on like that. So that square energy aggravates things and like agitates. So you have to deal with it, which is really good, because then we grow and evolve and we're not like just stuck being the same. So what else do we have? Another thing, like, there is hard stuff during this full moon, but there's also like sort of blessing energy with Mars sextiling the Neptunian energy. So it can kind of like, I think like our urge to act, Mars is in this sort of possible opportunity. I guess you have to reach for the opportunity. It's not just going to drop in your lap, but it's in this opportunity like for you to understand in a spiritual way, or there's an opportunity for like higher, finer frequencies of understanding, very mystical and magical, synchronistic kind of energy is available to us all because of Neptune. So, and because it's a positive aspect with Mars. So there is a charge to you being tuned into sort of otherworldly energy, or things, energy that's not quite so logical or definable or even describable, which I'm trying to do right now. Not very well because it is energy that's hard to describe. But there is like it's where, you know, music and movies and creativity and inspiration are born of this energy, and all kinds of like magical things kind of swim in this realm. So that's tapped into this full moon as well, which is good. But then we also have Saturn conjunct. So like Saturn is right there with it. So that means it's also opposing the sun. Saturn is kind of like it's like the opposite of the Uranian energy. It wants you to like hold in, like hang in there and do what you're supposed to do and take responsibility and think of the future, think of, and not in a Uranian kind of way, but in a more like, well, what does your dependence need, and what will you seed into the future? You mean 7 generations forward? There's this sort of like big import to the Saturnian energy, but it also gives you like discipline and a sense of responsibility. So maybe you do have to make a major change, and the Saturn energy will sober you up enough to like know what you have to do. And I don't mean like oh, you're drunk or whatever. I mean sort of emotionally sober you up so that you can figure out what moves to make, how to make them, what disciplines to partake in. Like Saturn does not want you to just make a decision or act like impetuously in the moment for this moment's sake. It wants you to think of how this moment's activity will affect the future. So think like that as much as you can as well. There is like this sort of fine dance between all these frequencies, and we can kind of create our reality out of them with our intention and our focus and our creativity. So I guess your role is to figure out what you want to create rather than like bobbing along on the rapids of the river of life and not really having a chance to plan ahead. So that's kind of the rapids are kind of going on, but also there is this like this planning the route is available as well. Also with Saturn there, it could trigger like Saturn rules so many things, right? But it rules our sadness and our grief and our like aging, like as you get older and you're like, oh my God, like you don't even think about the things that happen to people when they get older when you're young, which is, I guess, a good thing. But there is like these realities that set in, and like when people die, they're gone forever, like as far as we can tell from this realm. And there's this sort of like real heavy kind of sadness that can come with Saturnian energy, like an ending sort of energy. So that ties in, but also with this sort of beginning sort of energy. So whatever you can do to let go of what isn't good for you, it could be a relationship, it could be a situation, it could be anything. It could be a habit, it could be something you think all the time, it could be, you know, a feeling that you feel all the time. Whatever it is that's standing in your way and bringing your kind of vibration down low, you need to get rid of it so that you can keep yourself functioning at like as high a frequency as possible, which comes from being in joy and like feeling purposeful and enjoying what you're doing with your life and the people that you're with and the situations that you're in, and like just coming from joy, doing what is joyful. And sometimes you really got to seek that out and go out of your way so that you can like follow your heart, whatever that might be. So there is just this sort of perfect mixture of energy for all those things to happen right now. Make sure that you do write down what you want to create. Make sure that you're like because it helps you know what your intentions are. If you write it down, it's like, oh, it's goal planning. It's so practical. So do that. Saturn is there. It wants you to be practical. It wants you to make good decisions. It wants you to choose healthy food. Also, Virgo and our Mercury is in Virgo right now for the next couple weeks. So that is wonderful because Virgo can see all the flaws. It can see what's not working properly. It can see like what's like not working, basically, for your health. It'll be able to kind of like, though it can be quite an anxious energy, with Mercury in Virgo, we should have a chance to be able to be quite clear-headed and know exactly what we need to eat and drink and the exercise that we need and how to declutter our home and even the paint color we should choose and a little bit of feng shui so we've got our energy kind of flowing smoothly in our environment. Virgo is just like such a perfect little assisting energy, not even little, like powerful assisting energy for us to get our shit together, which we want to do. We want to have our shit together because then you don't feel anxious. Then you feel like, oh, my shit's together. And that feels good. At least it feels good to me. I think it's like a universal thing that we all feel better when our shit is together. So you can also change bad habits right now. Drop, like if you're a smoker or if you like, I don't know, you like the sugar or whatever. I mean, gosh, it could be shopping. It could be gluten. It could be whatever it is that you just really don't want to do without. Now you can let it go because it's not for your greater good. And if you're doing things that are harmful, then you're not in your highest vibration. So you need to tap into that. What can I do to be in my highest vibration? And that will then bring anybody in your frequency or in your realm will also kind of tap into that higher frequency. So be careful who you hang around with. Be careful with the information you absorb and you listen to. Just focus on feeling your joyful heart and being who you are. And I think that's all you need to make the most of this very potent, powerful, changing energy that we're all experiencing right now. So I hope you're doing very well, and I hope you can get into your joyful heart and be who you are in all that you do. Thank you so much for listening.